Thanks so much for staying with us. Time now for Eye on Africa with me, Georgia Calvin-Smith. Tonight, some African countries could face climate adaptation costs that dwarf their current healthcare budgets, in some cases by up to 5 times as much. The numbers are from a report by an NGO that's calling for more developed countries to follow through on a $100 billion pledge of climate finance for less developed nations. Also, Kenya's just months away from presidential elections, but it looks like many young people plan on staying away. The number of registered voters aged between 18 and 35 has dropped by over 5% since 2017. Many say that they're tired of recycled political elites, unfulfilled promises and rhetoric. And Tunisian tennis champ Ons Jabeur is back home. She touches down in Tunis to be met by adoring crowds. The first Arab and African Wimbledon singles finalist has reinvigorated the love of the game in her homeland. But first, the cost of climate adaptation for some African nations could be more than 5 times the amount they currently spend on healthcare. A report by the Tearfund Development Agency looked at 11 countries on the continent, including Ethiopia, DR Congo, Cameroon and Sudan, and it's now warning that crucial services may suffer as poorer nations struggle to respond to the climate emergency. Sub-Saharan Africa has contributed very little towards global climate change and yet is already feeling some of its worst impacts. The NGO is calling on more developed nations to fulfill a long-standing pledge of delivering $100 billion annually from 2020 to 2025 to help less developed ones mitigate the impact of climate change, a target which has yet to be met. Sam Bradpeace talks us through from Dakar.
Sub-Saharan African countries are going to need to adapt to climate change as a means of survival. This means building seawalls, transforming agriculture and redesigning infrastructure. According to a new report by an NGO called Tearfund, this is going to come at an astronomical cost. In an analysis of 11 countries, it found that they would, on average, need to spend 8% of GDP in order to adapt to climate change. In the cases of places like Eritrea and Mauritania, this proportion rises significantly, reaching a whopping 22.7% and 13.4% respectively. Overall, the outlook for these 11 African countries is pretty bleak. All the spending on climate change means that they're going to have less budget to spend on things like health and education. The authors of the Tearfund report are calling on rich nations, who, after all, are responsible for the lion's share of global greenhouse gas emissions, to deliver on a promise to fund climate mitigation projects in the developing world to the tune of hundreds of billions of dollars per year.
Sam Bradpeace there for us. Now, climate change is pressing South Africa with both drought and floods. The Eastern Cape province has seen repeated drought since 2016. Nelson Mandela Bay is trying to stave off day zero, the day that taps run dry. In the same province, torrential rains earlier this year destroyed rural communities near the border of KwaZulu-Natal. Our correspondents report.
The Mpofu Dam in South Africa's Eastern Cape is now so dry that water can no longer be extracted from it. Until early July, it was a primary water source for the 1.8 million people of Nelson Mandela Bay. After 7 years of drought, the city's most recent water usage limits are just 50 litres per person per day. Local shortages are also due to a 30% loss of water through leaks. In June, the crisis saw the government take over the city's water management. It wants to avoid the total depletion of local water sources, the dreaded day zero.
So what we will term is not a day zero situation, but more of an intermittent water supply situation. The water is there, just at times of high demand, the pressure drops out and some people in the lower parts of the supply system will have water, while in the higher parts they might not have water.
Every other day is day zero in these high-lying areas. The school in Walmer has been forced to close and send pupils home for the day. Sindiswa Matla says she had no water for the past 24 hours.
We open the tap at home, there's no water. It's on and off. We don't know actually when is it going to be turned. We don't ever told when is it going to be turned on or off.
Africa's biggest disaster relief organisation, Gift of the Givers, came to the rescue a month ago, installing boreholes at schools and hospitals. Martin Landman's borehole team arrived from KwaZulu-Natal, where floods destroyed water pipes.
We got droughts on the one side of South Africa, we got flooding on the other side, and then again our rainfall went down, but we got communities growing bigger as well. We've got a limited water resource from the dams that we're actually getting to. So your actually best resource after that is actually boreholes. Boreholes has been helping a lot of people in this country.
Water from them will only have a limited impact in a city where, because of climate change, more extended periods of low rainfall are predicted.
Well, staying with South Africa, 3 people connected to the deaths of 21 teenagers at a bar in East London last month have been arrested over allegations of selling alcohol to minors. The suspects include the owner of the Enyobeni Tavern, where dozens of young people collapsed at a party. It's still not clear what caused the mass deaths. Investigations are still underway, but pathologists have speculated that the victims may have been affected by something they inhaled or ingested. At least 23 migrants who died as 2,000 people tried to storm the frontier of the Spanish enclave of Melilla from Morocco probably suffocated to death. Around 37 people died on June 24th at the European land border with Africa. Doctors from the CNDH rights group examined the bodies and found evidence of mechanical asphyxiation caused by crushing. The UN, the AU and rights organisations have accused Moroccan and Spanish security of having used excessive force. Kenya is less than a month away from elections that will deliver a successor to President Uhuru Kenyatta. This year, unusually, many young voters look set to stay away. Many haven't registered, and that's a worry for the main contenders, Kenyatta-backed leader Raila Odinga and current Deputy President William Ruto. Young people are a key constituency. Our team reports.
In Eldoret town, the political season is taken seriously. The Rift Valley region is Deputy President William Ruto's political stronghold, boasting 5.34 million registered voters. However, some of the youth here are not keen on voting and feel that politicians seldom offer viable solutions to voters' most pressing problems.
Politicians are the same, the stories are the same. So there's no change, the suffering's still the same. I'm mostly tired of it. So when it comes to voting, I'm still undecided.
Gregory's sentiments mirror those of many young Kenyans. Data shows that since the last elections, the number of voters under the age of 35 has dropped by about 5.27%, a decline that worries organizations like Siasa Please. Since 2015, they have been fighting for young people to take up more political space. The NGO believes that little has been done to reach out to young voters ahead of this year's election.
I don't think if government wanted youth to register as voters. And my reasoning is, government never invested, as they have always invested in the past, in ensuring that youth register.
Moses Kebene is a young aspiring politician who believes that Kenya's democratic crisis can only be solved by electing a new generation of leaders. He says that the government continues to favor the old guard. He's been inviting young people from his ward to his home to strategize about how he can garner more of their votes.
For them tomorrow, they'll say, we need to protect this guy. We don't want to leave this guy to lose. That's it. Because he has empowered us, he has tried his level best to show us how to make an extra shilling. Then tomorrow, they will still have hope.
As a new generation of politicians steps up, Kenyan youths are demanding more from their leaders. In 2017, the current government banked on the youth vote, which at the time counted for 51% of registered voters. Today, politicians are going to have to work harder to convince young people that their voices are valued.
Well, finally, 27-year-old Tunisian tennis star Ons Jabeur is back home after months on the road. She's become an icon at home after a recent meteoric rise in the world rankings for her sport. In June, she was briefly ranked as high as world #2 before dropping to #5. She is the first Arab or African sportsperson to reach the Wimbledon singles final and has inspired a generation of players. Our correspondents were there as she arrived on Wednesday.
Don't worry, you'll all get pictures.
Ons Jabeur's fans have been eagerly awaiting her return. The tennis star spent the last few months on tour, winning the WTA tournament in Madrid and reaching the final at Wimbledon. She is the first Arab and the first African player in history to reach the Wimbledon final in singles play. In Tunisia, her success is inspirational.
I am really happy that I can send such a strong message. Honestly, I will keep working hard because I won't stop enjoying this. The fact that I'm living my dream. The road ahead is still long for me, but I'm so happy.
Many young Tunisian tennis professionals are motivated by Jabeur's personality and style of play. 17-year-old Feriel Ben Hassan trains at the Gazlak club in Tunis.
What inspires me the most about her is her mindset, her perseverance, her motivation, her energy on the court. It gives hope for young players that it's possible to reach the top 10 or even the top 5.
Jabeur is influencing players of both genders. At the Men's Tunis Open tournament in May, spectators of all ages were only talking about Jabeur.
I really like watching her in her matches because it teaches me new moves, new techniques.
Ons Jabeur is a source of pride for Tunisian and Arab women.
The number of members at the Tunis Tennis Club has recently doubled. Many of the newcomers are women. The Tennis Federation wants to make the most of the excitement around Jabeur and make tennis more accessible.
We have clubs in Tuzeur, in Kef, in Beja, and the main objective of the federation is to make the sport more popular and end its reputation as a bourgeois sport.
Because of Ons Jabeur's success, the WTA is organizing its first ever tournament in the Tunisian city of Monastir in October.
Well, that's it for Eye on Africa for now. Thanks for joining us. Do so again. Take care.